Okay, so regardless of when you do these things, in essence, you want to get that outline done. What was the first thing I put in my outline on the board the other day?
To notice, to find your geometry.
Yes, find the geometry. Know what your geometry is. So in this guy, this one circles. That's the only command you'll probably use for the entire thing. Okay. Now, the second thing I had on my drawing outline was what? Datums. Get those datums. There are two datums on this thing. Okay, you have one datum, which is a vertical axis right here, and it controls the location of everything to do with this body right here. So if I have one line right here, I will use that datum to build all these other shapes. Now, I do have a height datum that goes along with that, in that I have this little piece that comes up 0.3 inches, I have this piece that comes down 0.3 inches, but this is the datum I can use to control all of that. I have one other datum, and it's this center line. Everything here around this circle center and that little kind of, I guess you would call it, what, a boss at the end, they're all on this center line. And you can control the location of every one of those items right off of a datum or a line drawn this way. Now, if you can get those two datums with some snap points, this thing will just fall completely together for you. So I'm going to go to the computer. Now, right now, you should have step 1 layer current. Okay? What I'd like you to do is go to the front view. And all you're going to see is a vertical line. Now, if you have your properties dialog box open and you click on this, you're going to find that it is equal to the height of this object, which is what? 2 1/4 inches or whatever the height is? What's that?
2 1/4.
Okay. Now, this is my front view, so I'm looking right into where the shaft goes. Okay. So, for me to set up my datum for where the shaft is, I had to go to the right side view, because that's where that axis is for the shaft that goes in that hole. So, if you would go to the right side view now. Now, to create this datum, all I did here, folks, was I came from the top, I drew a line straight out, and I offset it the distance down. It's 1 1/8 inches if my memory serves me right. And that gave me this line. Okay. Then I offset this line out that distance. Okay. And then I trimmed it off. That gave me a line from here to here, which is from the center of the main body to that front face. That's going to be my datum. Then I came and used my endpoint snap and drew back that 3 1/4 inches to the back. There's where the back piece sits. Okay. So now I have my datum set up. This line right here is really nothing. Okay. So in essence, okay, what I have here is a vertical line, and then one here I can snap on this end, this end, this end, and this end. And they're set up where the distance here, let me just real quickly throw this out. The distance from here to here is at 1.125 inches. If you look in the drawing, that it's down. Okay, do you see that? Look down to where the hole of the shaft goes in from the body. Now additionally, okay, the dimension from here to here is that dimension out 1.594. I've only got this set to 2 decimal places, so you're only seeing that. Okay, do you see that? And then the one on the back gets the rest of it. So the other dimension here is from here to here, which is the 3 1/4. Okay, there's step 1. Build those datums. Okay, if you would, go ahead and do your drop downs, unfreeze step 2, make it current, and you can freeze step 1 so you don't have stuff in your way.
Unfreeze step 2 and make it current.
Yep, so click the snowflake on step 2. Sean, if you want this file, it's on Google Classroom.
Okay.
Okay, you ever see that? Now, here's your same datums. Right here, same datums. What did I do here? I wanted a surface perpendicular to my datum because I'm going to use the extrude command. Where does everything base off of? Off the bottom. Okay. Now I can't really use revolve because you have the bottom piece with the flanges, the top pieces with the flanges, and then we have really a collar in between the two, right? So I don't have a constant shape on the way up. Go to the top view. Okay, on here, switch your UCS to the top. So what I did is I switched to the top view and I drew these shapes. Okay. Now there's really three shapes here, okay, because I needed three different shapes. You draw positive and negative shapes. Okay, I have one positive shape, which is this guy. Just click on this one right here. And I think you should see that it is a P line all the way around. It's not joined together. I think that was done in the next step. Okay, so that's joined with this one. Okay, so what it's going to end up looking like you'll see in the next step. Now this shape right here, this is a negative shape. This is that center of the body. This is going to be the last line I use on the object in creating. Now I have another negative shape that sits right here. So you've got positive and negatives, and I drew them all on one plane. Okay. And I only dealt with my horizontal axis. Okay. Now if I tilt this up a little bit, all I did was snap all this stuff. Okay. There wasn't any UCS except for flipping to the top view. So you can see it now in relationship to my vertical axis. It's all sitting down here on the bottom. Okay, does that make sense? And all this stuff, there's no science to drawing this, it's just 2D drawing.
So on the bottom, you do on the top.
I drew it on the bottom of my axes. I could have drawn it on the top, didn't matter.
But you do it on the top there.
Okay? All right, that's step 2. Now I've put together all the shapes. There's all my shapes that I need to create the entire body, other than where the shaft is mounted through and how I control it. Now what I'd like you to do is open up step 3, unfreeze it, and freeze step 2. You got to make step 3 current before you can freeze step 2. Now here I've kind of put it all together. So on this one, I went to my front view, and I drew all of these shapes that are right off the front view. Notice they're sitting right here on the front end, because that's where every one of these shapes go. Now this was drawn with the front UCS current. This one was actually drawn here, and then I just moved it with the snaps from there to there. This is that back little piece that sits off the back. Now here I've also gone through and made key lines. So you can kind of see, click on this shape right here, if you would. This is on Google Classroom. Now is this a P line? Right here? Okay. So I think that's all good here. You can see the final shape. All I did was take that shape and copy it straight up to here. Okay, and I used the snap points from there to there, and that put this shape up here too. What I'm going to do is I got that flange, I'm going to extrude this one down, this one up. Okay? Now, I did have to have this. So there's a shape here, which is my positive cylinder coming all the way to the top. I got my negative shape that will eventually come through also. Yes?
So when I was doing it, I actually did the cylinder by itself, and then I did each one of the flanges, and then I just brought them up the proper amount, and then I copied them and stuck them up at the top. I mean,
You can do that. Like I said at the start, there's multiple ways to do this. But I really think what you want to try and do is stay 2D on all this stuff as long as possible. And you're going to see the advantage of that here in a second. Okay? Okay? So this is all 2D drawing. There's no 3D drawing going at all here. Nothing. Okay? We good to go? Any questions so far on what I've done? I can recreate any of these steps if you wish me to.
So when you move that bottom shape to the top, I mean, you can be in the front view and move that.
I can be in any view I want to be. Okay, and to show you, let's go ahead and delete that. It's gone. Okay, now I'll just do a copy command, and I'm not 3D copy, I'm just copy. Okay, so CO, enter. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to snap it from there to there. It's now in place. Okay. So I didn't have to use 3D copy, I didn't have to use 3D rotate on any of this. It's all two-dimensional drawing. To maybe give you an example also, how did I draw all this? Okay, let me just show you how I did it. I went to the front view. Okay, that's looking right at me. Now I'm drawing on that plane, right? Okay, now I just tilt it over and let me go ahead and delete this, and I'll delete. I'll leave that middle circle because that's pretty straightforward. I'll just delete all that stuff. Now I'm just coming in here and doing the circle command. So I'll do a circle. Notice I'm on the plane, right? And I snap to that endpoint. And let's see, the first big one is what? Diameter 2, so that's got a radius of 1. And then I move to the inside. The next one is, we're skipping, yeah. So what is it, 0.875? So D, enter, 0.875, enter. And then the last one, D, enter, 0.562. Enter. And then I want to get this back one. So I'll hit there. Remember, I'm still on that front plane, so it's drawn correctly. And this has a diameter of 0.75. Everything's in place. Okay. Now, I wanted to kind of leave this step alone, although I am now ready to complete this and go to my Boolean operators. So I'm going to use extrude, revolve, sweep, loft, one of those, or all of them, and then Boolean operator. I've set that up in step 4 so I can walk through the process of it. So it's the same as step 3 here, it's just been copied over. So I'm just going to zip over to step 4 so that this is retained. And it's right here, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Now, the order that you do things is almost as important as how you set stuff up. And a lot of people get caught up thinking, oh, I got to create this shape in here where these two meet. Keep in mind, that's what your Boolean operator is going to do all that for you. You just need shapes of positive and negatives. That's it. Then everything else will fall together. Now, I'm going to build the bottom piece and the top piece, join them together, and finish this guy first. I'm not going to subtract this bottom piece because I've got a bunch of stuff I'm shooting through here, and I want it done at the end. Okay. So we'll go ahead and build the bottom flange. We'll build the collar, we'll build the top flange, subtract all these holes out from my bolts, and get that done. Then I'll switch to the front and do it. Okay. Now, when you're doing these, since you've got the shapes, you don't need to switch UCSs at all. All you need is P-lines. Okay. So I'm going to do this guy with pretty much only the extrude. Okay. So I'm going to do an extrude, and I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going up a positive 0.313. Then I'm going to get this one and go to a negative 0.313. Oh, bad typo. Never got the negative sign. Extrude. And this is minus 0.313. Okay. Now, I still need to bring up my big color here. And I like when I'm doing this and I got a bunch of shapes, I go to 2D wireframe because it helps me select. So now I'm going to extrude this main color. Now on this one, I don't even need to type in a distance because I have a snap point. It's going to go right there. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and union these three together. Okay. UNI, did I type that right? I did. So I'm going to union that to that to that. Okay. Now let me switch it real quick to conceptual so you can see what I've got going. Okay. So now I've built pretty much all of that object. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to 2D wireframe. Let's cut the holes in. I'm going to do an extrude on this, this, and this, And since this is a subtract, I don't even care about distance, I just bring them up through. And let's go ahead and take care of those. So this is a subtract. Subtract from this, these three. You can go back to conceptual and you'll see what I got. Okay, so now those are done. Now I'm going to switch to this front and deal with it. Generally do your positives first, negatives second. Okay. So, one thing you might do here, folks, I know one thing when I'm coming out and helping you folks is you're not taking advantage of layers. You can create as many layers as you want. Freeze thaw stuff that gets in your way. Okay. Now if this thing here is in my way, okay, it's kind of going to mess with me a little bit. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm just going to throw it on any layer. I'll just throw it on the 0 layer and I'm going to freeze that layer because it might mess with some snaps. Right? So I'm going to do my positive shapes. Now, the only two positive shapes I have are this one and this one. They come into the object, but not all the way through. So I'm just going to do an extrude on this guy, and I'm just going to take it and snap to the middle here. Then I'm going to take this guy and extrude it, and do the same thing. I'll come back and snap on that middle. Okay? So I have just those two shapes thrown in. Now notice I didn't care where they went as long as they didn't go too far. Let me turn my body back on, because these are positive shapes. I'm going to union them to my main body. So union, and I want to union this, this, and this. Okay? So now I have one solid shape. Let me turn that back off. Okay? So now I've got all that. Now I'm dealing with my negative shapes. This circle was only for building that. I'm just going to delete it. And let's do an extrude on these guys. 1, 2, 3. They all go the same distance. And they're going at negative. So these are negative 375. So minus 0.375. Then let's go ahead and take my counterbore. That one's being extruded, minus 0.25. I think I forgot the minus. Let me redo that. Extrude, minus 0.2. Oh, gotta select the object first. Duh. Extrude this thing, minus 0.25. And then I've got one more on here, this middle one. I try and get it selected. I'll just select all of it, deselect my model, it leaves me with my circle. And I'm extruding this one minus 2.813. Okay? So I've created all those negative shapes. Now I'm going to turn my model back on. And now we're doing subtracting. And I want to go back to 2D on this because it's easier to select. So I'm going to subtract from my body this shape, that shape, that shape, that shape, and that shape. Okay. Enter. We go back to conceptual. Now you can see that I've got that hole busted through it. I've got my little bolting holes. Everything has been done. Now let me switch to X-ray vision real quick. Notice where that main hole came for the shaft to fit in. Okay. It stopped. It goes past this collar, but it stops short of this guy. Okay. If I was designing this, I really don't see a need for this unless that wall thickness is a little too stout. Maybe it's there to provide some wall thickness. Okay. Or maybe we're hanging it on something, I don't know. But there's really not a reason in my mind to have this piece on here, because my shaft stops in this collar. Now we still have the collar to do, the hole through the middle, so let me do that. I'm going to extrude on this shape down here, and I'll just select all of that, deselect my model, leaves me my hole, and we'll shoot that guy up to there. Let's subtract from this. Okay. Now this guy's pretty much done, and you can kind of see where that hole for the shaft comes into right there. Okay. Then we go to conceptual. 1 second, Lisa. Okay, so we go to conceptual, and it creates all those shapes for you. You know, like these ellipses back here, that's all created for you from this solid Boolean process. And this guy's now done. Yes?
So I thought that was a mistake in the design too. So I thought what they meant us to do is after you did, so you did the first subtraction, then I went from that point and subtracted. So basically added the 0.5 to the 0.2, and then it went in there a little bit. So I don't have to redo, I mean, that's, I thought that maybe.
No, I did it.
I thought that maybe they meant you subtracted from there, because, you know, from the inside.
I thought it needed to go inside the little.
Yeah, because then it goes inside just a little bit. So I added another 0.25 to it.
Yeah, it's tough to decipher that. This is the way I deciphered it.
Okay.
No, don't go back and redo it. I'd rather you start it on your bridle or your something of
Yeah,
that
I
nature.
mean, that's quite, yeah, because I, like I said, I started subtraction after I went in from there.
Okay?
All right.
All right, so you kind of see how that's done. You've got that file. Feel free to work through it, use it, whatever you want. Step 5, just so you know, all it is the completed object that I drew on that layer, just to show you there's your finished product. Please make sure you at least do your extrudes and all that for it. All right, let's cut that guy out. And let's draw another one. Should we do the shaft?
Yeah.
Do the shaft kind of.
Yeah, I did the shaft the other day pretty much.
Yeah, do the mouth.
But I was thinking that for this, I would do it a different way, because I did the shaft the first time the other day when you all, only about a quarter of the class was here. And I did it the exact same way. It's got one central axis, right? I made one line equal to that, and then I put a line and then just offset it for where all those different shapes happened. Drew everything on the end and then just moved it.
Then you revolve it?
Yeah, I thought on this one I'd do the revolve.
Yeah. do that.
Okay, we can do that if you wish. There is a trick to this guy, and the only real trick is, and it also aligns your Woodruff key, is that you're kind of slanted on where the butterfly valve goes, and it's
That's what I was
45 degrees.
wondering.
What's that?
That's what I was wondering, because with the face of that, how that face is cut out like that for your plate, like in reference to that, is your Woodruff key angled from that?
Yeah, and let me show you how that is. This is, if you start figuring this stuff out, you're ready to move to the design world. Because now you're starting to take these mating parts and putting them together and how they're going to operate together. Notice that this Woodruff key is lined up with this, and it kind of appears that way.
And so they are on the same.
Now, why is that? Look at where the Woodruff key goes in the handle. So when this thing fits on the shaft, that Woodruff key is going to lock together here and here. So this thing's going to be sitting here in a down 45 degrees. That is going to be in an open position. And I rotate it the other 90 degrees, and it takes and flips that down flat, shuts it off. How many times have you seen, and I know a bunch of you have, you've seen a valve like this and it's got a big arrow on it that says off this way, on this way. And that's exactly what's going on, because I'm going to put this handle on. When this is mounted, it's sitting there facing the user, and the handle's here in an off position. I rotate it to here to an on position. So I'm making it good for the user. And that's all lined up inside the body, perpendicular to the flow. Okay, so now you're starting to get into the operation of this, and you can start making design criteria calls, I guess, on how you want this thing to perform. I guarantee you the first one that built, nobody paid attention to that. They just joined them together and they got out there and they're all over the place. How many times you gone to a faucet sink and you turn one right and it's on, you go to the next one and it's off? All 1960 homes or before? We've evolved that over time. Now everything is on to the right, off to the left. Or do I got that backwards? They're all the same.
Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey.
So, good question, Sean. You're starting to get into where you start looking at how this thing works as a machine and not as a part.
And so those two things are lined up.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are. Okay. All right, so I haven't ever tried to revolve on this. I thought it would be a nice little exercise, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. All right, again, I want my front view looking right into the shaft. So for me to do the revolve, I've got to get perpendicular to that. So I've just started a blank drawing, and I'm going to start on the right side. I want to get perpendicular to my axis. So the first thing I'm going to do is just draw a line equal to the full length of this guy. And it is 4.198 inches. Okay? Now for the drawing process, I am going to need all these different offsets that go on. So I'm going to go ahead and create myself some snap points. So I'm just going to take a line, shoot it down a ways, and I'm going to start doing offsets on this line for everywhere my shape changes. So I'll do an offset. The first one is
After class, I
0.5, right? Okay. So I'm doing an offset of 0.5. That's where my thread's going to be. And then I go 0.898. Then I go 0.24. Then I'm going 0.375. Now this 0.375 one, this guy, this one's kind of an important one, so I'm going to switch that to a different layer real quick, just so I know where it's at. Why am I doing that? Because that is going to require that I do a subtraction. I'm going to have to build a shape to subtract off of that. Okay? So I need that one, then we're doing another offset here.